Alhamdulillah wa salatu salamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Al-Quran with the Jews of the Quran spears. We're still reading from Surah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and we have reached verse 24. And in fact, verse 23 we did not read. 24 to 26. This is the first selection as pearls by Imam Al-Ghazali. The next selection, inshallah, is 36 to 38. And let's see if we could cover both, inshallah, today. If not, there will be another session. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أولئك الذين لعنهم الله فأصمهم وأعمى أبصارهم. These are the ones who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who Allah has condemned, deafening them and blinding their eyes. Remember that the context is those who cause corruption on earth and they sever the ties of kinship, those who do not obey, they disobey. أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها. Do they not then reflect on the Quran, or are there locks upon their hearts? So they don't reflect, they don't ponder. And there is it's a very short story that when the Prophet ﷺ recited this verse, a young man from a Yemenite from Yemen, he said, rather there are locks upon their hearts, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens these locks, unlocks the hearts. So, and we know that the hearts are between, and this is of course metaphorical or allegorical, should be understood allegorically, between two fingers of the merciful. Our hearts are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He turns them in the way He wills, which means that also that if one is true to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will unlock the hearts rather than being deafened, rather than being blinded. And here we talk about the meaning. They don't hear the Quran, they don't see the verses, the signs. Now the locks on the hearts, I thought that what could be these locks? This map, the end of this very short story is that Umar al-Khattab, who was present at the time when this young man said, rather there are locks, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unlocks them, opens the hearts. So I remember this young man. So when he became a caliph, Umar al-Khattab later on, he employed this young man. He used him for a senior position, if you will, because the word فاستعان به. So whatever. So Umar al-Khattab was happy with this young man. Now, what kind of locks do we have? In the past, subscribing to a Greek metaphysical philosophy might be a lock. People who are born within sects that became non-Muslim in the past, in the distant past, they do have that kind of lock, because they see when they read the Quran, if they do read the Quran, they will read it through the lens of their own sect or through the lens of a general bias. It could be people of the book, it could be atheists, could be boiling Islam to one, or the lock could be not reading the Quran at all. I did watch a young woman asked a Muslim scholar, a Muslim young woman, or at least from an Islamic background, why from Islamic background? Because she admitted that she was atheist at the time. And the problem, why she became atheist, stories like she said, why the Quran says that the universe, the world, rests on a whale or something like that, hoot, which could be also hoot could be used for simply a fish, like in the story of Sayyidina Musa Surah Al-Kahf. فَإِنِّي نَسِيتُ الْحُوتَ. That's not a whale, that's really a fish. But she said that's in the Quran. And obviously anyone who read the Quran knows that there is no such a story in the Quran. There is no such a story. That's a look, being blinded by their own choice. They subscribe to something that does not exist in the Quran. Or they come with an agenda, or they come with a package. One of the locks on the Quran, on the hearts really, is that of radical feminism, being people choosing to become progressive Muslims. Just be a true Muslim. As simple as that. Remember when Amina Wadud led a mixed congregation, if you will, men and women, shoulder to shoulder. She was the Imam in a church in New York, I think. Dressed, not dressed, shoulder to shoulder. That's exactly, we should not shy away from this. We separate in the mosque not because of discrimination. Sexuality is part of the. Simply, you'd like to sideline this issue. Shoulder to shoulder, not dressed. Flesh, basically touching flesh. Oh, come on. When Umayyad Safi edited Progressive Muslims, I did read in the book and I carefully read Sexuality, Diversity and Ethics in the Agenda of Progressive Muslims, written by Scott Siraj al-Haq Kugel. I revert. The problem with here we have a lock on the heart, bringing his own package, omitting the verses in the Quran in that article, in that paper, omitting the verses that obviously explicitly prohibit homosexuality in the Quran, which is, by the way, is also obvious in the Old Testament. It's not a problem of hospitality. And later on, he, of course, he would find people to support him to develop it into a book. That's a lock on the heart. People have their own. There was an ad by so-called, we would call them progressive Muslims, homosexuals. They wanted to have their own retreat, but that ad said you can bring your partner, being the same-sex partner, but no drugs should be used, no alcohol, no. So yes to homosexual relations. Even heterosexual relations, you don't basically have a partner. Either it's marriage in a heterosexual relationship, fulfilling the conditions, of course. Subhanallah. So the locks on the heart, obviously, of our own making, rather than submitting to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we follow the verses, what happens after the verse 24 ends with, or are there locks upon their hearts? How does verse 25 begin? إن الذين ارتدوا على أدبارهم من بعد ما تبين لهم الهدى الشيطان سوى لهم وأملى لهم. Indeed, those who relapse into disbelief, it's about disbelief. After true guidance has become clear to them, it is Satan, Shaitan, it is Satan that has tempted them, luring them with false hopes. It's just simply, it's very simple. Submit. You don't have to have your own philosophy. You don't have to create alternative laws. You don't have to hide what is obvious, what is explicit. If it's a prohibition, or if it's basically something that is allowed. فكيف إذا توفتهم الملائكة يضربون وجوههم وأدبارهم. Then how horrible will it be when the angels take their souls, beating their faces and backs. And this verse is, there are those amongst us who claim there is no punishment immediately after death until the day of judgment. No, this is very clear that there is punishment and it is immediate, and that's different from the punishment on the day of judgment. ذلك بأنهم اتبعوا ما أسخط الله وكرهوا رضوانه فأحبط أعمالهم. It's because they follow whatever displeases Allah and hate whatever pleases Him. So He has rendered their deeds void. أم حسب الذين في قلوبهم مرض ألا يخرج الله أضغانهم. Or do those with sickness in their hearts think that Allah will not be able to expose their malice? ولو نشاء لريناكم فعرفتهم بسيماهم ولتعرفنهم في لحن القول والله يعلم أعمالكم. Had we willed, you could have truly shown them to you, addressing the Prophet ﷺ, and you would have certainly recognized them by their appearance, but you will surely recognize them by their tone of speech, and Allah fully knows your doings, addressing people. It has been reported that Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, the third son-in-law of the Prophet ﷺ, and he was the third caliph. He said, ما أسر أحد سريرة إلا أبداها الله على صفحات وجهه وفلتات لسانه. That no one keeps something in his or her heart, suppressing something, keeping something as a secret. ما أسر سر ما أسر سرا. So if someone has a secret in his heart, her heart, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show it either on his face, the facial expressions, وَفَلَتَاتِ لِسَانِهِ, or slips of the tongue. You will say something that will unveil what you have in. And it has been also said, أسر أحد سريرة إلا كساه الله تعالى جلبابها إن خيرا فخير وإن شر فشر. No one has a secret except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it it becomes like a garment, meaning it's going to show on him, on her. If it's good, then that's what it is, and if it's evil, that's what it is. But it will show on them, almost like a dress, metaphorically speaking. ونبلونكم حتى نعلم المجاهدين منكم والصابرين ونبلو أخباركم. We'll certainly test you, addressing the believers, until we prove those of you who truly struggle in Allah's cause and remain steadfast, and reveal how you conduct yourselves. It's easy to nominally subscribe the nominal Muslims, but you cannot go through this life without putting effort, without having patience for what you go through. It is how you conduct yourself to the best of your knowledge, to the best of your ability, individually but also collectively. We are one ummah. إن الذين كفروا صدوا عن سبيل الله وشاقوا الرسول من بعد ما تبين لهم الهدى لن يضروا الله شيئا وسوف يحبط أعمالهم. Indeed, those who disbelieve hinder others from the way of Allah and defy the messenger after true guidance has become clear to them. They will not harm Allah in the least, but He will render their deeds void. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not benefit from the good action of the believers, and is not hurt by you cannot harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who defy, those who reject, those who become antagonistic enemies, they try to hurt. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول لا تبطلوا أعمالكم. O believers, obey Allah and obey the messenger, and do not let your deeds be in vain. They are the ones they are responsible for their action. The companions of the Prophet ﷺ used to believe that once you say La ilaha illallah, no sin really harms or hurts, or in the sense of, well, you believe in that there's no God but Allah. That is sufficient. And they believe that no good deed will benefit when one is an idol worshipper, when one has subscribed to shirk one way or the other. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, يا الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول ولا تبطلوا أعمالكم. Belief, but also action. Do not harm your own status in this case. إن الذين كفروا صدوا عن سبيل ثم ماتوا وهم كفار فلا يغفر الله لهم. Surely those who disbelieve hinder others from the way of Allah, and then die as disbelievers, Allah will never forgive them. So they are disbelievers, and they try to prevent people from subscribing to Islam. All those, why do you think those Islamophobes who continue to spread misconceptions about Islam? They try to prevent people from seeing the truth in the Qur'an, and they don't want people to accept the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they disbelieve and they die in that state. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not forgive them. Every sin in Islam could be forgiven except for one, shirk, disbelief. Whether one says that one is atheist, whether one believes in something other than true oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not up to you to say this is monotheism. Don't subscribe to post-revelation constructs where literally you allow room for others other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You worship others with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَا تَهِنُوا وَتَدْعُوا إِلَى السَّلْمِ وَأَنْتُمُ الْأَعْلَوْنَ اللَّهُ مَعَكُمْ وَلَن يَتَرَكُمْ. So do not falter or cry for peace, for you will have the upper hand, and Allah is with you, and He will never let your deeds go to waste. And do not falter. Do not basically allow yourself to be humiliated. Do not allow yourselves to be weak. Do not falter. Now, this should be contextualized. Do not cry for peace in a context when the Meccans, for example, at the time, the idol worshippers, it was very clear they pursued a zero-sum game. They went after the Muslims time and again. First, the Battle of Badr, close to Medina. Uhud, practically almost inside Medina. The trench, that's basically besieging Medina. So they pursued a zero-sum game. They wanted to annihilate this nascent Muslim community. They knew that their time, that they cannot survive. The original status quo that existed in Mecca would not survive. Worshipping in traditional leadership, there was no room for that. Verily, إنما الحياة الدنيا لعب وله. This world life is no more than play and amusement. I ask those who would like fun to be the cornerstone of this life. وإن تؤمنوا وتتقوا يؤتكم أموالكم. But if you are faithful and mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will grant you your full reward and will not ask you to donate all your wealth. He grants you the wealth, He sustains you, and He asks you to give a very small part to the needy, 8 categories for zakah, and He rewards you for that, 2.5% on money that you have kept with yourself for a whole lunar year, reaching the zakat amount. يسألكموها فيحفكم تبخلوا ويخرج أضغانكم. If He were to do so and pressure you, He would withhold and He would bring out your resentment. Do it lovingly. Never. Zakah is a ibadah, is a form of worship. It's an obligation. It's obligatory. Don't you ever do something ibadah and, while your heart is resenting, detesting, fighting back, thinking that this is unjust, this is tax. No, it's not. It's zakah. It purifies what is left behind, the 97.5%. The very last verse. ها أنتم هؤلاء تدعون لتنفقوا في سبيل الله فمنكم ومن يبخل فإنما يبخل عن نفسه والله الغني وأنتم فقراء وإن تتولوا من غيركم ثم لا يكونوا أمثالكم. Here you are being invited to donate a little, to spend in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Still some of you withhold their money, and whoever does so is only to their own loss, to their own ruin. For Allah is self-sufficient, whereas you stand in need of Him. Our need is not only the money, subhanAllah. We need health, we need tranquility, we need safety, security. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam, when he said, رب إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. When he went to Madian, he helped the 2 young women by giving water to their sheep. They were shy, they would not basically be with the men at the well of water, and he resorted to a shady area, and he simply addressed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, simply saying that I'm in this state of faqr. By the evening, he had no food or shelter, and he had food or shelter. He had no family with him, and he now has a family. He married one of the 2 young women. His father-in-law offered him a job, security. He assured him that he's safe, that he is saved. SubhanAllah. Those who reject, those who resist, those who do not submit wholeheartedly to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they will be replaced. Inshallah, the Imam Al-Ghazali he chose Surah Al-Fath, but we'll address this right at the beginning of the next session, inshallah. Until then, subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.